Hello, good afternoon, everybody, or good afternoon from the West Coast area. Welcome back to Wireheads, a Cyberpunk RED podcast. I am one of your hosts. I'm Diamond Dust, professional GM, VTuber, and also I am, wrangling a few other things in the background as well, working on my own game on top of all this. And joining me, as always, my best friend.
Hello, my name is Emmerron, and I am T-posing aggressively at the start of this episode. It's good to be back. Last week was a little chaos for me because in addition to I just realized my volume is up really loud. Hold on, let me reduce that. There we go. Now you can hear me. Hello, my name is Emmerron. I was T-posing aggressively a moment ago. The music was aggressive as well. I am also a content creator ish. It's been a little busier for me in other avenues right now. I am also the Envoy RPG convention coordinator, which is what I've been more busy with lately, which is why we didn't have an episode last week, because I was spending the vast majority of last week getting ducks in a row for a few conventions coming up here. And I am a professional game master. I made strawberry jam over the weekend. I'm not sure what else to add to my list of titles right now, but I'm the other guy who runs the podcast here, does most of our video editing, etc. And I'm here to talk about Cyberpunk RED, which is why that's in our podcast name. You can see it right there to the right of my little window into reality right now.
Oh, I have chat between our windows.
It's funny, yeah. I think we've got our layouts slightly different because I've got the logo between our heads and then I've got the chat box below that at the very center. So that alerts pop up to like the left of that. And then my text, my subject box is to the right of that. So yeah, we've got our layouts slightly different because both of us kind of came up with our interpretation of it based on assets that I'm like, here, these are the assets, go. But yeah, hello everybody, welcome in. As we begin this week, Diamond, I believe we wanted to discuss the new hotness, the Night City 2045 DLC stuff, which has just come out.
So here this past week, we received the Night City Hookbook, or a couple weeks. Last week, yeah.
Last week, yeah.
Yeah, just last week. We received the Night City Hookbook as our May DLC. And all the authors from Night City 2045 were once again tapped on for this DLC. And we received a variety of hooks depending on what district you're in. And I'm thinking with this episode, we'll kind of look at each of the different districts, what kind of missions are put out there, what really screams out to us, and a lot of these missions are good.
Yeah. But
we're gonna see what really jumps out at us each, and you don't get like. I don't think this is the biggest DLC. It's probably not. I think Toggles still hangs on to that one
easily. Yeah, no. This is by no means the longest. This is very dense. I will say that. Like of the DLCs we've received, this is probably among the more dense, which is something very nice. It's always good. See, this is the thing. I love art in DLCs. I think that especially when there's a lot to be done with the art, like in Gear DLCs, getting pictures and images of like what we're receiving is very good. It's a good use of space within the DLC package. But with things like this, you need far less art to kind of get across some of the stuff you're trying to communicate to your GMs and players. And this one is very, very good at that. I feel like the like broad overview of this, for any of you who haven't looked at this one yet or weren't aware that this had dropped, the Night City Hookbook is you get a list of gigs by district that aren't really formatted into a full gig yet. So they are literally just the name of the district at the very top of the section. And then I think like the shortest one is like 5. There are a few that have a couple more than that. I think they might go up as high as 7. But you get a couple of gigs out of each district, essentially, or ideas for gigs out of each district. Some of which even have like, hey, one of 2 opposing groups or people here could be contacting your crew to do a different version of this gig. One might be contacting you to like promote an idea or to like push for something. The others may want you to oppose it. They've got another where it's like, this thing is happening, and this is either a really good opportunity for you to make some like quick money because they need security or suppliers for the stuff they need, or you might be able to turn this into an assassination attempt, which is like a wildly different gig altogether. But they that's kind of the nice way of doing this. In my eyes, the way I view this and why I think this is such a useful thing to have is it teaches by showing, is probably the best way I could put this. Teaches by showing GMs who maybe are really familiar with Scream Sheets. They've, looked at the other books like Tales of the Red, and they've run a bunch of pre-written adventures, and they're like right at the edge of like, I want to make my own stuff, but I really don't know where to begin, or I don't have like great ideas for a story. And it presents to those GMs who are like just getting used to those kind of concepts and the idea of doing that in their own head. And it places it right in front of them and says, here are some great ideas, build it now from this. It basically gives them a mold to fill, as opposed to it being a case where you are still left very much out to the wolves and just like, yeah, you've got a bunch of stat blocks, especially if you own Night City 2045, this will work even better, because some of the things they call for in here, like security forces and stuff, we have stat blocks for in the full book. So you'll be able to use those to kind of fill those stat blanks in for yourself. So yeah, this is a great way of again, like showing by doing, instead of it being a very almost like babying sort of like, hey, we're gonna infantilize you and like grab you by the hand and like show you exactly and like write out exactly the formula to follow, or like write your own gig. Because like,
that's in the core rule book.
It is in the core rule book, and in my opinion, there is something lost in translation there, which is like, if you're a GM who has been doing this for a really long time, like you or I, those little things. Like there's always little bits of sauce that when you've like got a winning idea, you're just like, oh yeah, and then I can like layer this thing on and this thing on and this thing on. And especially if you're writing for a broader campaign, those are all the threads that you'll be like, all right, so now this is out there, this is out there, this is out there. And with that in mind, you can just be like, all right, I'm going to pick up on that thread over here, like 3 sessions later, and that thread after that. And you start building that out in your mind when you write your first like intro gig, right? You're setting some of these things out there that you may or may not use, but to give yourself that slack. And I feel like newer GMs, especially if you are new to TTRPGs in general, you think in much more simple terms, in terms of like, I just want to create the beginning, the middle, the end. I want the problem that my players have to fight. And like, I'm going to build out the scene work that connects the front to the back of that. And you don't really think about, well, what if my players go off the script? What happens if my players, don't find a facet of what I'm presenting them a little bit interesting. You know, maybe they don't like going down a route that I think they're going to take, which is another problem. But yeah, this is like a great kind of front-loaded way to like catch that and teach those GMs, hey, here's how you run your Cyberpunk gig, or to build it from the ground up.
And I suppose to give my input here, and given I take this as just as someone that does practical witchcraft, there is the rule of 3. I also have my rule of 3 for writing missions that take place over multiple gigs. No mission should take more, unless it is the overarching job. That the job is the plot of that entire adventure, such as like what Black Spark was. No mission should go beyond 3 sessions.
Yeah.
You usually like three sessions. You've got like, you know, for I'm talking for these like really long-winded missions.
Sure. I'm like, when I ran, I think the first time that I ever ran Reaping the Reaper, it definitely, I think it was 4 sessions, but that's the thing. Like 3 is a good target. I'll say that. Like 2 or 3 sessions is usually a pretty good target. You will sometimes need 4.
And I like to try to tell I like to try to tell Reaping the Reaper in 3 acts. As best as I can, but usually like that final boss fight sometimes has to, like, I've had to save it for a 4th session.
It is just its own session.
Things off. It is literally its own scene.
It really is.
It's when Chekhov's gun gets fired, basically.
Yeah, repeatedly.
So
it's a lot.
But also, if you're just in like one of the other parts of the rule of 3 when it comes to new GMs, if something you're thinking about, if you're looking at it, it's like, could this be called back in 3 sessions? That will determine how long you should be writing an adventure for, or if there should be a follow-up adventure for that.
Yeah. Well, and in chat, we have the Meechin, or the Meechinist. I don't.
The Mechanist.
Is it the Mechanist? I'm
yes,
like, that's just such that's such an interesting way to spell that.
They're the tech for my Monday group.
That checks out then. That name makes a lot of sense. So they ask if this is how to get new GMs to kind of avoid railroading players and gently push them in the right direction. I think this is more the story lead-in to kind of educating on that front. It doesn't like really do a great job of like giving GMs craft tips, which is kind of what we call when you're like educating someone on the theory of like, here's how to GM in general, right? We call that GM craft. And this doesn't really address that side of it so much as to like, here's how you avoid railroading your players. This is more teaching the GM, here's how you build stuff out that will lead to interesting interactions that makes it so that you're not just thinking on a one-track storyline, right? It kind of gives enough. And as we go through each of these, when we go through the ones that we really stood out, because I don't think we're really going to read through all of these in today's episode, because there are a lot of them. But the ones we do read, you'll start to see like that it kind of presents, here's the premise, like the very like high level background of what is going on here, as well as a couple of like ways that this might be interpreted to distill it into a gig. But the bottom line is that they've given you enough open-ended kind of possibility on that topic to give you a good jumping off point to then understand like this is not going to be as simple as players go in, shoot guy, get paid. It's going to be players go in, things are very complicated, and how the players respond could really quickly change how the world hits back at them with this. That's more what this kind of comes down to. So it helps with that, like the mental side of like a GM getting so caught up in their own plan that they are going to like expect players do exactly thing A, thing B, thing C in that order, in the way that the GM like is thinking that they will or conceptualizing that they will. It addresses some of that because it forces the GM from the concept phase to think about it more broadly. It is not going to educate the GM out of fixing things in a way that makes sense to them. That, I would argue, is more what you want to look to things. Like there's a little bit in the core rulebook about that with running Cyberpunk. Moreover, that's where like Listen Up You Primitive Screwheads, which is a 2020 book, but the advice on that is still, it's timeless. It's very, very useful. If you just change whatever rule gets referred to in there and like translate it to RED and how it interprets those rules and the way you do the things, that advice still is incredibly solid and timeless. I would direct people to that. You could also look at, I think the Listen Up from John in particular talks a little bit about that, because his was more about GM craft than GM prep, which is more what the other Listen Up article was about from
Rob Mulligan.
I was thinking Mulligan, but I'm like, why is the only thing in front of Mulligan Brennan Lee? Jesus Christ. Like, I know it's not Brennan Lee.
All right. So I suppose to get this show on the road, like we'll pull a hook and maybe like just a brief discussion of like how many sessions do you think this will take, and what are your thoughts on like how you'd spin this one?
Basically, yeah, like how'd you do it? Yeah, no, I'm down for that.
So I suppose to start off with, yes, Charter Hill, the district that hugs the executive zone like a needy child to their parents' leg, looking at the glitter kids.
The full-blown NIMBY district. Here we go.
Yeah, and mind you, already the complication is Militech's the security provider on top of the NCPD. So
that'll be fun.
So the titles here, we have Cinema Verity, we have Cooking the Books, Find Gavin, Making a Connection, and Sees the Light. Now, one that really appealed to me, and this is partially because of like personal background. While I don't have experience in the specific setting that they're talking about, I have been in groups where it's just like, oh, this is questionable. Sees the Light. The Flow Megachurch holds in-person advanced study groups for dedicated followers. And a man has cashed his family's life savings to gamble on his faith paying dividends. Whatever that means. His partner has seen his personality change since he started attending Flow, and is desperate to know what goes on behind closed doors. Be that drugs, brain dances, or seduction.
Oh... That's like prosperity gospel and Scientology rolled into one.
It is.
It's so like, good.
I saw this, and it's just like that's absolutely like the vibes I'm getting off of this.
Yeah.
And when I'm looking at Sees the Light, this is definitely Like the way I'm looking at this is definitely more for the medias, the fixers, the rockers, where you're gonna need a little more suave, a little more no, suave is not the right word, a little more tact when you're approaching a group like the Flow. And like even reading like Flow's article, you definitely could tell that like They have medium level Militech security, but they absolutely will have in-house security. I could bet you my bottom dollar they have their own in-house security.
So you want to know? I'm reading this completely differently. Because you're right. You could run it like that. The way I would run that, though, is not for the socialites.
Are we doing the what's been trending recently? Because my god kids have suggested like
the Scientology speedruns. It's that is a version of how I would run it that you could do. Okay. I would treat this far more as like I would lean into there's something deeply dark and shady going on here, and the players are going to be exposed to that as they dive deeper into this. It would be something more like think infiltration would be the way that I would play it, in terms of like net runners getting involved with like, holy shit, what do they have? Why are there cages in their basement? Like B&E type stuff. Like I'd lean into the dark, shady cult side of this, like, and lead it to something really messed up at the bottom. That's what I would like to do with this. That's my first instinct.
I feel like this kind of has that minor spoilers, but I'm not going to talk too deeply about how it works. But the adventure Ripping the Ripper has 2 different tracks that you could take.
Yeah. Like, and I could see this being one where you absolutely do something very similar to that.
One where either you follow the guy in question and figure out, what is this guy doing? Who is he seeing? Like, this is very much more you are trying to put together an expose for this. Yeah. But definitely B&E, I feel like B&E is definitely the way to go.
God, the B&E route with this, you could just do so much interesting, in my opinion, fucked up shit. Oh god, I would love to see how that plays at my table. That could be so much fun. Oh god.
There's, probably a solid chance of, acquiring, oh gosh. Now, I don't know, like, I've never attended a mega church, but there, like, the few churches that I was involved in would have certain things that only certain people could see.
Yeah. I mean, that's...
This could also... You could also stack on, like, dirty laundry as well.
Yeah. I mean, so mega churches as a vibe, because I've never been in, like, a proper mega church. I've been in some that they run things in a very similar fashion to how mega churches do it. And like, it's, in my opinion, as someone who truly does believe in Christianity and stuff like that, it made me very uncomfortable, because it is very like, you have this practical like arena full of people, and it's just very unsettling to have an arena full of people that are just like perfectly okay with just how much showmanship and stuff is happening, when you're like, I thought the whole point was we like gather and do something like really positive for like the world, or at least our own community. And it very much gets wrapped in the trappings really, really quickly of like, well, yes, we are doing things for our community by providing them, things that they can hold on their faith to, as long as they keep tithing us at the rates that we deem acceptable.
Pastor Roger Joel Chandler, who is the guy that runs the place, needs to be able to afford his AV9. Right. All right? He's got to be able to make those payments.
Right. Exactly. Like,
and just for the low cost of 500 eddies a week, you too can be saved.
Yeah. I mean, but that's where I'm like, you could absolutely play this in a deeply interesting, fucked up kind of way. That is just like a different level.
Imagine the amount of blackmail. Oh gosh, the amount of blackmail you could probably find in that place on just any exec that attends the flow.
Well, like case in point. I mean, like, especially if there's like but like when we talk about brain dance stuff, I mean, you can get into some of the same seedy vibes you get. There's a side gig in 2077 where you are hired, and I know Diamond, you'll remember this one.
Oh God,
it's hard to forget. Yep. But you're hired because a pastor's son has been killed, and
yep,
you are hired to go find the BD that was supposedly recorded of him, and you're left with this like really, I would call it a difficult choice. It's more the consequences don't feel great. They show you in a lot of ways that it was like the gig that really opens your eyes to this game is not going to pull punches, and it is going to like hit you back if you hit it a certain way. You walk in to a father-son duo editing snuff BDs and just being like, yeah, we get these from all over. We have no idea who recorded it. We have no idea who set this up. We just get sent them and we're told to edit them and we get our payment. And so all you need to do, all you've been hired to do is go and take the BD and get the hell out, right? However, there's a lot of people, myself included, who felt that street justice needed administration in this case. And I was like, a father had his son taken from him. And I did the same to this man. And when I tell you the VA work that they did of this man howling over the loss of his son was, I will never forget that shit. In almost every subsequent run of that, I've just taken the BD from its place on the shelf and done nothing with either of them. Not even made them aware of my presence. I just walk in, grab it, and get the hell out. Because I don't want to, that was a lot.
Have you ever killed the father in that instance?
Yes. I think I either reloaded a save or on my next playthrough I did it that way because I'm like, I will say that it wasn't any better. That wasn't any better. I don't think it was not. I don't think it was worse, but it definitely wasn't better.
But I mean, I'm looking at like the flow, and it's just like there is so much that could be done here.
Oh yeah,
and like already my god kids are just like, hey, Aunt Diamond, we got a hold of Cyberpunk, and I'm just like, why do you have Cyberpunk? I mean, but can we do flow speed runs? And I'm like,
how old are your god kids again? Like, just for my understanding.
We've got 14, 15, and 17.
Okay, no, they're getting into that age where Cyberpunk's not as problematic, I would say.
Yeah, like it's just like, all right, guys, maybe let's not. I don't know. I love them a lot, but it's like one of my hard lines of just like.
Well, there's a way to run this where it's not as deeply fucked up. I lean like black metal kind of fucked up with my Cyberpunk when I see gigs like this. That is not what you have to do by any means. And I think the speedrun idea is a hilarious one, especially if you are running with a more socialite group. Like, we got a bunch of independent medias. They're just running like, all right, guys, I'm jogging through flow right now. That could be a really funny gig if you run it that way. Like, you just lean into the absurdity of it.
But I'm thinking about just like how weird this can get because having gone to one of the alternative Bible camps back in the day, I imagine that stuff's probably going on well in a very well padded room, well away from the public eye.
That's what I'm saying about like you B&E this shit, and you will find some things that you wish
the humanity loss.
Oh yeah, no, there's stuff down there.
So I guess for you, what jumps out at you? Because I know Seize the Light's a pretty good one, but
Seize the Light is honestly a really good one because are we just talking within Charter Hill or
we're gonna start with Charter Hill and then
just Charter Hill. I mean, that one is, I would say that is the juiciest of the hooks here. The second that I would probably look at here, especially if you're like, wow, that's a lot. I don't know that I want to deal with, like, maybe some of your players have lines and stuff that make it so that that's not a super doable gig for you. I would say the more straightforward one that you could run is Find Gavin. And I know that that sounds like incredibly basic, but like this requires, I think, that you own Night City 2045 and understand what Angelica's is and read a little deeper into that location specifically. But Find Gavin is literally like, okay, guy goes missing, and there could be all kinds of reasons as to why, but it leaves you very open-ended as to like, a guy's gone missing, you need to go find him, and the reasons for that are entirely left up to the GM. I kind of like that just because of its simplicity, because a lot of these other ones are very like corpo coded, and I don't dig how like I see. The thing is, when I run Cyberpunk, I'm usually running it for people that lean hard street kid, right? Where they are going the route of like, we are coming up from the bottom, usually starting in at the best like maybe a more moderate threat zone, but like not at all uncommonly. We'll just start in combat zones. So all of these that are more like corpo coded end up feeling just a little bit like, why would an edge runner who's just getting started on the street care about some of those things, right? Whereas Seize the Light, you could be from anywhere and have that matter.
Oh yeah.
And like your fixer could get that detail and be like, look, I'm out of options. I don't know who else to turn to, and I don't have a lot of money, but I want to stop my husband before he makes a horrible mistake, and like turn it into something. Whereas the other ones are very like, this celebrity is doing something, or this like corporate exec is doing something, and I'm like, the street might care, but my tables usually don't lean in that direction.
Honorable mention, Making a Connection, it kind of follows like the same vibe as Seize the Light, where you are trying to get dirt or figure out what's going on. But this one is very much more like Many Hands, which is a labor recruiter that goes into New Westbrook, where your edge runner might be from. You might be a street kid or a sinless out of New Westbrook. Which apparently sinless is a new slur that we have received in Cyberpunk RED. New slur unlocked. Making a Connection, Many Hands received a no-bid contract from Charter Hill's government. Or that the city manager, Simon How is that pronounced?
Featherstone Hay.
Featherstone Hay? Alright, not Stonehoff. Alright. Featherstone Hay is a majority shareholder in the business. Definitely no bias whatsoever. To really blow the lid off the story, a freelance media needs some truly intense evidence of wrongdoing. So you as a crew are hired to infiltrate Many Hands. And I feel like where the flow is kind of like that executive or like maybe a little bit of a higher level one where it's just like you're dealing in execs. Making a Connection feels like the much more street level variant where these guys are coming into Westbrook to acquire people, and the way that they talk about it in Night City 2045, the way Many Hands does business, it gives me an awful feeling.
Yeah, no, you could turn that one into something for sure. That does give a similar vibe. I think Seize the Light is honestly, I think, like, out of all of these, my favorite for Charter Hell, just because like it really captures the like, this is the duality of society in a way that like Making a Connection does as well. I will say, like, I agree with you there. This does capture the same vibe, but it captures it from a very different lens that like it doesn't feel as like Seize the Light is deeply predatory, making a connection is we are suspicious that something has gone horribly wrong here. And while you could, lead it down the same kind of rabbit hole, you're examining it from a very different lens. And it does lead you more into corporate skyscrapers as opposed to like the seedy underbelly, which is to me where Sees the Light ends in my eyes, right? And I like dwelling in that seedy underbelly in my gigs because I think that's if there's anything that really like goes under everything in Night City and holds it up, it is the seedy underbelly. Like, where does this connect to the underground of the city? And I like leaning into that pretty hard. So but case in point, guys, if you are looking at this and you're like, well, I don't know that Sees the Light really speaks to me. I'd rather do some of these other ones that are more corpo coded because like maybe your group is more motivated on that kind of trend of thinking. This is why we have such a variety in here, is because like just because I wouldn't run it doesn't mean you wouldn't run it. So
Downtown actually has some decent hooks.
Downtown does, yeah.
I wasn't sure how to feel about Downtown. Like, it was like, okay, all right, you're edgy, Little Europe's little brother, very cool. You're trying to be all cool and shit. No, there's actually some good stuff in here. So the titles, we have Be Ashamed, Chrome Shine Crimes, Good Dirt, Fortune Telling, and also The Leak. So Emmerron, what really speaks out to you?
Chrome Shine Crimes, hands down.
I think that was a great intro mission.
That one's got such legs. It's like actually crazy. Cause like I'm thinking something. Because again, this is where my mind goes when I'm starting to like think about Cyberpunk and how to run things. Chrome Shine Crimes feels very like this is how you get into something deeper by the end of the campaign. That looks like Welcome to the Game for any of you who are familiar with that horror game. It is the briefest synopsis I could give is you play a hacker media investigating an underground kidnapping and ritual sacrifice cult, essentially, that run dark web red rooms. And that is all I will describe those as. If you have curiosity, you can look definitions up on your own. But to me, this is very much where like you start leaning towards something like that, or something that's like vaguely Squid Games, or there was another like even something on the level of, for those of you who've read Dungeon Crawler Carl, where like the dystopia becomes entertainment. This turns into that potentially, because if you're broadcasting things constantly to the data pool, that's like where my mind is drawn, is like, all right, well, who's listening? Why are they listening? What's the reasons here? This one is like start to a campaign, because like while they might be able to pick out that like, yes, this happened, they might not know why, and they very much might want to know why, or else that reason's gonna come and catch up with them later.
And like, for me, I do think Chrome Shine Crimes is good because like this could really just start from a very like street level, just like, you know, hey mister, do you want your cyber arm polished?
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, you're there and like somebody's bug detector goes off. It's just like, what is this? And then that's when it starts going down.
Exactly.
Now, another one that I find interesting, partially because like one of my favorite rifles is mentioned in here, that I have had the pleasure to shoot. We have Good Dirt. Valiant Violet, owner of Guns and Dolls, which is a brothel themed around firearms. So like, I guess if that's your thing, there's that. Has dirt on a major player in Night City's political scene. and wants to blackmail them for money she needs to finally upgrade herself to her final form. An amazingly expensive steampunk-themed FPC modeled after the classic rifle that won the West, which that would be the Winchester Model 1873. Fantastic lever action rifle, fast firing, very smooth, very nice. The crew can be tasked with recovering the info for the major player and protecting it, or stealing it for a third party. So it looks like you're getting put up against Valian for this one, and it's a data theft heist. And I think, as both of us being Netrunner mains, who doesn't love a good data heist?
Data heists are fun. Well, and I like the recovering info side of this too, because that does lean more toward the kick the door down types than the subtle infiltration types, which is very much, if you're stealing it, you want subtlety. If you're recovering it, you go loud most of the time. Like, you could obviously go subtle there as well, but if you have a group that's more inclined to be like, I kick the door down, throw the grenade in, and pull out my rifle, like,
absolutely,
that's the route that you take with that hook, in my opinion.
Yeah, because like I read up on Guns and Dolls, and I got a feeling I know who a major player could be in mind, because Valian changed who she had protecting the place. She went from the Wang Fang Tong to the Eastern Tigers Triad. I'm sure Mr. Ling Po will have something lovely to say about it.
It'll go fun, yeah. So next we have Executive Zone. So
this one surprised me.
Within here we have Custody Dispute, Life's a Birch, Losing to Lazarus, The Name of the Game is Humiliation, and Valuable Garbage. So of these, Diamond, which of these stuck out to you?
So for me, I think while it's an honorable mention, we already have like pretty much everything that, like, literally everything's out there for people to figure it out. There is Custody Dispute, and I thought that one was good. All right, I thought it was great. However, I love I love Life's a Birch. Jamie Shark Eater T-Love of Savoil, who is basically the regional manager for Night City, has planted a line of European white birch trees on the property line, white birch trees are very pretty, on his property, and that of Petrochem's Billy Joe Brentwood. Billy Joe hates them with a passion, probably because Shark Eater put them there. But the HOA has already approved the trees, and he has no legal recourse to remove them. Illegal recourse, though, that's where the crew comes in. So you are... Oh gosh, it all comes back to wood pirates.
A little bit. So, I mean, there's a couple ways to go. With my brother working for the State Forest Service, it's kind of like you could poison them. Like, it's easy to poison trees accidentally. It's very easy to do it intentionally.
I figured that's probably going to be the easiest way to do it, and just let the trees rot, die, and then suddenly it's an eyesore, so you got to have them taken down. Let's see. Eraser says copper nails.
Nails, yeah.
And of course, you are up against Lazarus. You are probably up against the Savoil security that is protecting Shark Eater's estate. And who knows what else is out there.
Yeah. I think my favorite when I read it out of here was Losing to Lazarus. Because this feels very punk. It feels like, we're a bunch of like punk kids Or, you know, just like junior edge runners who maybe like don't fully have our heads on. Or maybe you do and you're like, no, we could do this and it'd be easy money. So losing Lazarus, the gig is Lazarus's contact with the executive zone is extremely lucrative. Their contract, excuse me, with the executive zone is extremely lucrative. To ensure it is offering the best security possible, the PMC hires the crew to break into the district and send a video message from the inside of one of the estates. The edge runners have 1 week to do the job, and the guards on the ground won't be notified of the exercise until it ends. In other words, security will shoot on sight. So it's the in and out of this is a very simple gig, right? It is you have to break in, post a video, and get out. The how of that is where the creativity leans on this. And the real thing here that Lazarus is looking to do probably is get free publicity. Because if their guards shoot and kill you, they don't have to pay you. So like that in and of itself proves that they are the best. So you will actually, by winning this gig, by passing and doing this and getting paid at the other side, you will actually piss them off.
Actually, how did they even get in the executive zone to begin with? Sorry, they just had to Karen it there for just a sec. By the way, the person that runs the executive zone, her name is Dr. Karen Davies.
God.
So shout out to Custody Dispute. Here's the deal. Before he died, Johnny Silverhand, the man, the myth, the asshole himself, promised Rogue his D-Luz Orphean electric guitar should anything happen to him. She insists she fronted him the money to buy it in the first place. The problem is, in the chaos following around the Fourth Corporate War, the guitar was lost and then found and eventually bought on an auction by Carrie Uridine. Carrie refuses to give it up at any price, so Rogue has no choice but to hire a crew to break in his mansion and steal it. She wants it done right, minimal damage, no one gets hurt, she just wants a guitar. Well, in 2077, we have Carrie's house.
Yeah, the Deluxe is definitely a thing, because that's, yeah.
Because Carrie even brings it to the show, if I remember correctly.
I think he does. It might be a different one, but yeah, I think you might be right. I would need a playback through. It's been long enough now that I don't remember that comprehensively.
And because Carrie is over in the Philippines so often, nobody's home. Just go get the guitar. It's that easy.
Yeah, it's just that easy. Just break it and take it. Yeah. So the next district on our list here is the Glen.
Glen.
The Glen has some real fun ones. So we have Best Served Cold, Corp on Corp Action, Frame Job, Killer Clowns, and Reckoning Day. And of these, I think my personal favorite is Reckoning Day, because this speaks pretty close to something that my players did the very very first campaign of Cyberpunk RED I ever ran. We're talking like Jumpstart Kit. The dirty bomb in populated city center was very much the thing that they did in the last mission of that gig, and they had support from the Reckoners. So like it was like, to see that here, I'm like, oh, I've run that one before. It ended horribly. One of the player characters decided that offing themselves was the better idea than to live with what they had just done, because they realized they'd been tricked into doing something they really didn't want to. Yeah, it's a that's a real fun one. So the gig reads: not every Reckoner is content to wait for the end times to arrive. A small splinter faction led by a newcomer to the cult, Zakira Waitley? I think it's Waitley, yeah.
It looks like Waitley.
Yeah, Waitley. Zakaria Waitley.
I thought Zachariah, but...
I think it's Zakaria, because Zachariah is spelled differently than that. But it might be Zachariah. It depends how you pronounce that, I guess. So small splinter faction led by a newcomer to the cult. Zakaria or Zachariah Waitley wants to speed things along by setting off a dirty bomb in the middle of the glen. The Reckoner High Priest, the beloved gaping maw of the gibbering eye, hires the crew to handle the matter quietly. A dirty bomb going off would be bad publicity for the cult. But there's all kinds of good reasons why they might not want to get in the way. It depends, right?
I mean, it's mentioned in Night City history that Max Tack was literally sent to kill so many Doomsday cults during the late 20s into the 30s.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I again, this very much like harkens to my sensibility for like, I like bleak cyberpunk. Bleak cyberpunk is fun.
I feel like this needs to get pushed up to this one feels like it needs a countdown timer.
It does.
For how quickly you catch up to them, to where there could just be a standoff in the center of the glen.
Yeah.
Over the dirty bomb.
I fully think that this is the sort of gig that would benefit from a Blade Runner TRPG style countdown if you're doing it over the course of more than a day, because it very much does like lean toward how quickly can you thwart the plan versus it just happening because like you weren't quick enough. So yeah, like this could be real fun, and I think more than anything this illustrates the kind of idea that like I played with this idea in Neon Inferno and I've talked about it on the show here before, but do not be afraid to destroy parts of the city in ways that don't gel well with canon, because that doesn't matter. It's your Night City, you do what you want. So if setting off the dirty bomb is what the party wants to do, then show them what happens when that happens, you know? That could be a very interesting aftermath story that gets told in the wake of something like that.
So, for me, I think because a certain beloved fixer of ours is mentioned, and this feels very much like a mission that I would like to partake in personally, but it just seems like a blast in general. Rex Royale, the king of one block, if you would. A powerful fixer in Night City has decided to ruin the life of an enemy by erasing their official existence, making them sinless, basically. The easiest way to do that is to break into the DMV, which is an actual place mentioned in Night City 2045. Plant a virus on the records database and wait for the deletion of information to spread through the system. At least you're not breaking into the Hall of Justice or City Hall for this. But, whew,
yeah,
you are literally breaking into a government facility.
Breaking into government facilities never leaves you with a long lifespan usually. So yeah, that's understandably not the best thing. I do dig that though, and that very much gels with the kind of Rex Royale that I have envisioned him to be. I think I mentioned it before on here, but like the black chrome version of him that looks kind of goofy, and I think holds a place for like, I think my least favorite Cyberpunk RED art piece is Rex Royale's character art. Because I've always envisioned him to be much more suave than that art makes him look. And this feels very much like suave Winston type from John Wick telling a group of people, so this is what we're going to do with this guy. And just coldly laying out like the gig before them, before asking them any questions.
I feel like Rex's black chrome art is very much like he is, you know, he's putting on night market, so he needs to really take on that very different, much more welcoming, uppity personality. But I feel like when he is not working the markets, he is very much in line with what you're thinking there.
Yeah.
So what about you? What do you think's the runner up for this one?
I mean, runner up, I would say. I mean, I don't know that I have a real good runner up here. I mean, Killer Clowns is always fun. Bozos are never a bad time because, yeah.
And the Bozos are hiring you to do this.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit of an inversion where, like, I feel like most of the time when the Bozos get brought in by GMs, it's very much like you are being attacked by them. They're kind of the chaos faction that could just show up anywhere. But yeah, Bozo Circus decided the best way to win the prank war is to reignite the 2020 conflict between the clowns and the Juilliards by targeting performers in Night City Plaza. Infiltrating the Glen while clowned up isn't easy though, so the circus is willing to hire outsiders to do the job. Likewise, after the first few incidents, the Juilliard Guild will beef up protection by hiring edgerunners to do the job. Finally, the city manager, Zahara Freeman, might be willing to break open the district's coin purse to hire a crew who can stop the clown mime war altogether. Well, and see, this is the thing. It gives 3 different ways that your crew could get brought into this. It is, this thing could be simmering in the background, and here's the first few blows of the war. It's, you are in the crew that strikes the first blow of the war. Or you are the crew that strikes back after the first blow is struck. And you're the first retaliation before Zahara opens her coin purse. You could be any one of 3 groups in here, and
you could be all 3 if you try hard enough and keep your keep your nose clean.
If you're really good, maybe, yeah. But yeah, the being the first strike literally requires you to work with the Bozos, which is kind of wild. Because yeah, you almost never, I think, see cases where that happens in just about any other kind of framework for Cyberpunk, whether we're talking Red or 2020.
Yeah. Next up, Haywood Docks. I looked at the Haywood Docks and like most of them are pretty good. We've got Cube Life, Hunting for Hunter, Something Toxic This Way Comes, Submarine Heist, and Tension on the High Seas. I actually did Tension on the High Seas before Night City Hookbook got here. My mercenaries were hired by the Thelis Nation. The way this one reads is DT&R, Decker, Tanaka, and Rogers secured a Dinalar cargo transport previously held by the Thelis. Both sides have a stake in DTR's initial run from Night City to Seattle. Thelis want the ship sunk, and to prove DTR can't handle the job, DTR wants the ship to reach its destination in one piece. I had it the other way around. The Thelis were moving stuff down to Panama, and the mercenaries had to sit tight and, you know, deal with whatever was coming that way. It's a really good, like, get out of Night City, like, high-end mercenary, or, like, low-end mercenary, high-end edge runner job.
So there are 2 here that I really dig. But the one that I think I'm going to point out, because it strikes a little closer to something I've been working on, is Submarine Heist. Because I've actually had something, I've run something similar to this in the first season of Neon Inferno, and the way that A Sinking Feeling is written kind of plays, it plays close-ish to this. But so the way that Submarine Heist reads is a member of an underwater scaver group, the Paradivers, gets a little bit too drunk one night and loudly reveals the location of a pre-Fourth Corporate War Hydro Subsidium submarine, supposedly buried beneath the dirt at the bottom of the canal. Most believe the scaver to be sloshed and making up stories, but if it's real, what's inside could be worth a fortune.
This gives Drummer and the Whale vibes.
It gives a little Drummer and the Whale. It also gives
Sinking Feeling.
It gives a little bit like, yeah, because Diamond's played through Sinking Feeling, or at least the prototype of it that I'm working with right now. And this can go a couple different ways. This can go kind of the way Drummer and the Whale does, in which there's like multiple groups kind of fighting over whatever is in there. It could go the way a Sinking Feeling does, which is you don't want to know why that thing's buried down there. You know, you have some great opportunities for very high stakes gig work here, because of how some of that plays out, especially because if you're setting them down with dive suits and stuff, you cannot armor a dive suit as highly as you would regular kind of streetwear and stuff like that. So like, you're already raising the stakes by saying you can only go into this with 7 SP. Have fun. Like, it's a good time.
And then also like just a really good like intro level mission. I feel Hunting for Hunter is a really good hook for maybe some like new edge runners that are in that area where you are just out trying to find a missing package that happens to be really valuable. Something toxic this way comes as well with goo that just consumes everything is just a bit interesting.
That was my second favorite one, because you could go a lot of different ways with that one. But yeah, we won't, for the sake of time, we won't dive too deeply into that, because Diamond, we're already through 1 hour.
Yep. All right. We'll go ahead. Let's tag out then.
Yeah. So if you're watching this on YouTube specifically, this is the part where we split it in half. So this will be on Diamond's channel, and normally I would have her doing this part of it.
Yes,
I took the lead.
Yeah, you're good. So, of course, to go to the second part of this episode, go down to the description of this video, click on the link, it'll take you to the other side. Spotify, Twitch, you're here.
Yeah.
Also, if you are looking for a discount on Night City 2045 and any other our Talosorian Games products, use code Wireheads, all caps, no spaces, over at the our Talosorian web store. You'll get 10% off. And also, you could still pre-order. I'm thinking like when this video comes out, you could still pre-order it.
You can.
You can get 10% off the hard copy and 60% off the PDF. 50. By using our code.
I believe it's 50% off the PDF.
Okay, because I thought our...
you're saying stacking. I see. Yeah. So the way that the thing works, just so this is nice and clear, the pre-order of the book itself is $60. The PDF is normally $30. If you add both of them to your cart right now, though, before the full book comes out, so it's still available for pre-order, and that's true till Origins, which is later this month, you will get the PDF half off if you buy it with the pre-ordered book. And if you add code Wireheads to that, you get that whole $75 package for 10% off. So you will it actually comes out at even less than what 60% off the PDF would be. So you end up saving another $7.50, which gets kicked back to us so that it supports the show, which is an awesome thing for you to get a cheaper copy of the book. We get a little bit of support. It is an incredible deal. If you are here live on Twitch, I have just linked the link/code in the chat. If you are watching this over on Spotify or on either of our YouTube channels, we will have that down in the description. But
all right, I think with that, YouTube, we'll see you on the next half of the episode. And with that, bye-bye.
Bye.